So unless I hear anything alternatively from the state, the courts would grant the motion that she would be unhandcuffed for any hearing we have moving forward. Instead of her position in the box, we would probably have her seated at counsel's table, unless I hear an objection from the state as to that. We'll address motions first. State, any position with regard to being unshackled and B, being seated at counsel's table for any motions moving forward?
No, we defer to the court and the sheriff's office, who is in charge of security. Our concerns are just making sure that she's given a fair trial and fashioning a remedy that is a fair presentation for the jury to observe.
Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, so ma'am, the court's going to grant your motion, and then you will be unhandcuffed for every hearing moving forward. And instead of being in the jury box, you'll be seated at counsel's table. Okay, you may still have your leg restraints on, but you'll be hands-free. For the purposes of trial, in accordance with Florida Supreme Court decision in Weaver, you will be hands-free and you will not be shackled with legs. But the stun cuff, as identified by Sergeant Barnett, will be affixed to you and you'll have to sign that waiver. Do you have any questions for me, ma'am?
For sitting here in the counsel's table, you also said that I would be shackled. I'm not shackled now. Will I be shackled then?
My understanding is that you were. If you're not, and the only thing you have is your handcuffs?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. If that's the case, then you'll be seated at counsel's table with that, as you are without your hand restraints.
Okay, so I would be unbound.
Correct.
Yes, thank you.
All right. The other item I have on... Yes, sir.
I think the sheriff's office is looking for clarification, and I think I am too.
Okay.
I think the situation is because she has handcuffs on now, she doesn't have leg restraints, but for hearings, when her hands are unrestrained, her legs would be restrained.
Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up from the deputy in the back that that's the case. Is that the standard operating procedure, Deputy Loden? Okay, so ma'am, so I'll clarify my order. For the purposes of any hearings, you'll be hands-free, but you will have leg restraints.
Yes.
That's not going to affect any fairness or impartiality because it's just you and me and the state, and no jurors will see that. Yes,
also,
sir.
Judge, when she's being transported from the jail, she is going to be fully handcuffed with the belly chains and all that. We can take those off
In
when
advance.
she gets up here.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay.
I'm just worried about the fairness here in the courtroom, especially when we bring in a jury panel. Okay. And for the purposes of trial, ma'am, you'll have no leg restraints, no hand restraints, your hands free, legs free, but you will have the stun cuff affixed to your leg. And as identified by Sergeant Barnett, you're going to have to sign that waiver every day, okay?
Of course, and if I may, if anyone knows, the stun cuff, does it go over clothing or does it have to
It
be
is
just...
under your clothing, as Sergeant Barnett identified. I have a representative from the Public Defender's Office who I've asked to be here. She's going to have a conversation with you, ma'am, after our hearing, so she can facilitate clothing for you, including pants that would prohibit the jury from viewing that device on your legs.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Does that clarify for you, State?
Yes, I just saw them and I thought that I saw the confusion based on my experience of how it's done.
Okay.
We cleared it up.
Thank you. Now, ma'am, that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to wander wherever you want in the courtroom. There's going to be spots where you're going to be able to go to. You're not going to be able to walk all the way up to witnesses. You're not going to be able to walk everywhere that you want. There's going to be places that you're going to have to go to. When we get closer to trial, we'll address the box, for lack of a better word, for where you'd be able to go and not go, and I'm going to give the same limitations to the state, okay?
I understand.
All right. Are you okay with addressing that later, Counselor?
Yeah, I mean, what I would envision is if she needs an exhibit brought to witness, I have no problem getting up and doing that for her.
I was going to, either you can do it or I was going to have the deputies do it. So, ma'am, I envision that because you're going to be able to move about freely and our jurors are not going to know that you have any restraints on you and they're not going to be able to see the stun cuff, you can conduct any questions or statements or arguments from where you would like to be in the courtroom, either at counsel's table or at the podium here for you. If you need to approach a witness or you need to provide evidence to someone, I'm going to ask you and the state to both provide that information or that document to one of the deputies, and they'll be able to approach the witness for you, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Do you have any questions about the court's ruling or the procedures for you having movement throughout the courtroom during the course of our trial?
No, I understand, and you said that it would be clarified greater once we get closer to that date. But I would like to ask, please, when the time does come for any exhibits or anything to be handed to jurors, yourself, or anyone in the courtroom, is it an option for the state or a deputy, or is it specifically whoever's the closest and can do it faster?
So what I'm going to do, ma'am, is I have spoken with the sheriff's office. I'm going to endeavor to have additional security in the office or in the courtroom, so that there will be a deputy for basically your disposal will be seated closer to you, so that if you have a document that you want to bring to a witness's attention or ask them questions about it, you can hand it to that dedicated deputy for you, ma'am.
Yes, that is my preference, please. Thank you.
That's what I'm endeavoring to try to do for you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about the ruling?
No, sir.
Okay, so your motion is granted for the reasons stated on the record.
Thank you.
State anything to clarify.
No, Your Honor.
Okay.